Hi you guys, I hope that you are all doing really well. I know it's been a little while since I've seen you. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure I was wearing this sweater in my last video, but that's okay. That's how it usually goes around here. Sorry I missed you guys last week. If you haven't been following me either on Instagram or haven't been watching the past few videos, then you wouldn't have known that we were actually driving across the country last week. So we were a bit busy and I didn't get around to putting anything up or pre-filming or anything like that. So I'm back today and we are in New York. We will be here for a couple of months working out of here, so it should be really fun. I'm very excited. But today I thought I would share like a little bit of our road trip journey, because obviously driving across the country in winter is an interesting experience, and I feel like we learned some things along the way, but overall we had a really great time. Yeah, I wanted to share it with you guys, and then selfishly I also wanted this video just for myself to be able to go back and kind of look over the clips and remember the story of it, so that years from now, you know, I won't forget all the little fun things that we did. So I hope you guys enjoy. This is going to be kind of part one, because it's going to be a lot of talking and like showing little clips, so I don't want it to feel too dense for you guys, but we're gonna make it like kind of halfway across the country. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this, and then part two will be coming very shortly. I also feel like I could make a whole separate video on things I wish I would have known, things I would have done beforehand, items that we're super happy that we brought, all of those hindsight's 2020 realizations when you do a big road trip, especially with a dog. So if you guys are interested in more information about that, let me know, and maybe I can do either like a short second video one week, or if a lot of you are interested, then I can just make a video about it. I'm also going to be filming on my phone for the next couple months, which should be interesting. So if sound quality and picture looks a little bit different, it's because it is. Okay, first things first. So we started in the Bay Area in California. We have been wanting to do a cross-country road trip for years now. I would say mainly the me part of we, but I managed to convince Jared when we decided we were gonna go east for a while. Initially, we're like, well, we don't want to put Moose on the plane because we'll have to go on the plane for like 5 hours. We thought, oh, it'd be so much nicer to do a road trip with him. In retrospect, by day like 4 or 5, I'm sure Moose would have rather gone on the 5 or 6 hour flight instead of being stuck in the car for so many hours, but we had a lot of fun with it, and luckily he is such a good sport. He's just like the best dog. I always say that, but he's so flexible, and the whole way he just slept, which is kind of crazy when I actually think about it. Yeah, he was just an amazing travel companion, so we were super lucky. But we started in the Bay Area, and we initially had one route, and then probably like a week before kind of changed the whole route up, which meant that we didn't book anywhere to stay. We were trying to remain flexible based on weather, because we knew there was going to be a big storm coming through the week that we were leaving, which is not ideal but tends to happen during the winter time. So we knew the general time period that we wanted to leave, but we left 2 or 3 days on the other end, so like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where we knew we wouldn't have to be back at work yet, so we would have a little bit of flexibility in case we needed to stay over somewhere an extra night. But ideally we wanted to do it in 7 days, which sounded like kind of a long time. I know some people take months to cross the country when they're really exploring, but we kind of just wanted to like not blow through, but make our way pretty quickly across, and then maybe like when we're retired we'll take some actual time to go exploring. So we replotted our route, and we knew we were going to go pretty far south just so that we would avoid any bad weather, but we were also going to make a stop in Tucson for sure, because we were visiting Jared's grandma. It was her birthday the day we left, so we wanted to try and get there in 2 days so that we'd be there the day after her birthday and get to celebrate a little bit with her. And that also meant that we ended up getting an extra passenger in our car. So it was me, Jared, Moose, and then Jared's dad, Mark, who came with us for the first 2 days of our trip so that he could spend time with his mother, Jared's grandma, and we would drop him off in Tucson. So we basically shoved ourselves into a car in California. It really started to feel like a clown car, and then I of course sat in the back seat with Moose. We had this like luxurious car carrier for Moose so that he was safe and secure in the back seat, which took up 2 seats, and then I got like one tiny little seat next to him. Definitely at the end of 2 days being next to him, I was ready to have some more space and be in the front seat when we dropped off Jared's dad. But it actually went okay because Moose was just, like I said, a total champ and slept the whole time. Every time we would like get above 25 miles per hour, he would just like conk out and sleep. So that was really wonderful. But we kicked it off by heading down to Joshua Tree, which we were both really excited about. We had never been there before, and Joshua Tree just is supposed to be absolutely beautiful. It's desert, and it's known for the Joshua trees that are there. It's a little bit longer of a first day than maybe going to LA or somewhere like that, which is a bit closer to us. But we felt like it was worth it because we really wanted the extra time in Tucson to spend with Jared's grandma, since we were only spending one night there. That was kind of like our travel trajectory. We would only do like one night in each location. On our way down to Joshua Tree, it was pretty incredible just to remember like how massive California is. I feel like when you live somewhere, you just kind of forget what's around you, and California is filled with so much farmland and there's so much space in between major cities. I mean, it almost takes up a whole coast of the United States, so it's a pretty incredible state, and there's so much variety as you go through different climates. But certainly you could really see the toll of the drought on a lot of places, which was kind of hard to see, but important to remember because in our little isolated community, it doesn't feel as prevalent. We also got to see, I think they were almond trees that were blossoming, and they were absolutely beautiful. There was just acres and acres and acres of almond farms, so we really enjoyed getting to see those. And the first day, I feel like we were all filled with just so much excitement about kind of the journey that we were doing that we ended up just talking most of the way down to Joshua Tree, which was really fun. I feel like that's kind of what road trips bring out, especially if you do it with friends or you bring someone else into the picture. Like we had Jared's dad with us. It was really fun to be nostalgic with him and talk about things when Jared was younger, when Mark was younger, about Jared's grandma, and I feel like we just like learned so much about each other, which is again kind of the blessing of doing a road trip and really getting to spend that like isolated quality time with someone in a car where there is no escaping, and if someone asks a question you have to answer. So I personally love that setup. By the time that we got to Joshua Tree, it was actually pretty late. Luckily, Jared's dad is an amazing driver and so is Jared, so I just got to kind of be chauffeured for the day. Moose and I were just like chilling in the back seat, and they took over driving for that first day. And when we got there, it was pretty close to dinner time, so we just caught like a really beautiful sunset. Obviously, we got to see the Joshua trees as we were coming in, and our Airbnb was super cute. I unfortunately didn't take any video of it. I should have, but it was kind of like a mid-century modern like quick flip house that looks really cute. I'll list all the Airbnbs that we stayed at down below in case you guys end up doing the path that we did. But yeah, we got Mexican food for dinner that night. A lot of things were actually closed super early, so we had very few restaurant selections by like 6:30 at night, which was kind of surprising. We had dinner back at our Airbnb, took Moose for a walk, and then we just kind of settled in because we knew we wanted to get an early start the next day. But on our way out from Joshua Tree, we got to stop at a really cute coffee shop that was in downtown. It kind of looks like something you would see at like a train station. It was really cute from the outside, and then the interior was super cute, and we got really delicious coffee, and we actually picked up a bag of decaf for Jared's grandma as a little belated birthday gift, and I just thought the branding on the bag was really, really cute. So once we were, you know, caffeinated and ready to go, we hit the road again and we headed straight for Tucson. We were in kind of a rush to get to Tucson, like I said, to spend time with Jared's grandma, and definitely a stop further south than you would usually take to get across the country, so it adds a little bit more time to your drive. But we were really eager to get there and really looking forward to it. We saw so much beautiful desert on the way there. I mean, basically from Joshua Tree to Tucson, it really just felt like one continual desert. There was a lot of big highway signs, and as we were leaving, we saw this like fresh jerky sign that we wanted to stop at. Both Jared's dad and I really wanted to stop. Jared was like, let's keep going, we gotta keep on the road, but we finally convinced him to stop, and then of course we get there and like none of the jerky is gluten-free. We very quickly realized as we continued driving that that was not a unique shop, but there are a lot of places that claim to have fresh jerky and package it in their own little packaging. But it was really cute and the sign was kind of iconic, so it was fun to stop there and see the shop and all the candies they have and really cute like kind of vintage sodas. And I feel like part of road trips are going to those attractions, the places where you might not stop otherwise, but it's always good to stop and stretch your legs, and if there's a fun little attraction or kind of like a huge gaudy sign that you want to take a picture under, you got to do it. So we made our stop there, and wouldn't you know it, Jared actually picked up like 3 snack packs of jerky. I got none, even though I was the one pushing to go, and Jared's dad got some too, so he was happy. But the owner of the shop was super sweet, and again, it was just a nice place to kind of like rest and stretch stretch our legs for a second. Moose mainly slept the whole way again. He didn't really care about any of the beautiful desert that we were seeing, but there's just incredible rock formations, and then land just feels so vast. And a lot of it flat, but it's still really beautiful, and it's pretty remarkable when you see all the plant life that can survive in a climate like that. By the time we got to Tucson, it was like late afternoon, and we really wanted to do a big walk just since we'd been in the car all day. So we met up with Jared's grandma, which was really wonderful to get to see her. And we went to something called the Loop, which is like this huge loop around Tucson. It's iconic for people who like to bike, people who like to, you know, kind of do like a minor hike. It's all paved and it's flat, so it's nothing too strenuous, but it's really long. I think it does wrap all the way around Tucson, so it's like 100 and something miles. And we obviously didn't do that, we just did part of it. And again, the background was just so beautiful. We saw a coyote, which was kind of scary. I feel like we've lived in the suburbs for a little bit too long, and so wildlife is a bit intimidating, but obviously it was totally safe, and we were with a huge dog, so we were fine. It was really nice to get to see Jared with his grandma and his dad, and then I guess you could technically call it a fourth generation with Moose, even though he's more of a fur baby than a human. But just having everyone together always feels good. And then I think especially based on the past few years where we've had to be more distant from everyone, it's really nice to get an opportunity to get together and do it safely. So we felt super grateful for that. And then we headed back to get some dinner. We got takeout from a place called Moe's Barbecue, which was absolutely delicious. Highly recommend if you're in Tucson stopping there. Very sweet owners, really good food. And we just kind of went back to Jared's grandma's house and ate and chatted, and she pulled out old photos of Jared's dad and the family, and we just kind of went through them and talked about them, and it was really wonderful. It's so special to get those moments, and it's also just, like I said, so special to get to spend time with a grandparent like that. Jared's grandma is always super sweet, and I'm still finishing right now. She made me gluten-free brownies, which every time I either go to visit her or she comes over to our house, she always brings something or makes something for us. And since I have so many dietary restrictions, she's so good at like writing down everything and making sure whatever she's doing for me, she's checked the ingredients, or she'll save the packaging so I can look at. And it's just something I really appreciate about her, and I feel like I hope that I can pull it together enough to start doing that. Because it just feels really wonderful and super welcoming when you're going to someone's house that they've thought of you in that way. We were pretty tired by around like 10 o'clock. We had gained an hour, I think, at that point. We were like slowly progressing as we went across the country, and it was kind of nice to do it gradually, but it definitely was hard with the wake up and wanting to get on the road early, but having to wake up, you know, like technically an hour earlier than you would usually. So we wanted to get back to our Airbnb, and we rented this cute little studio in Tucson. It was just really like a bed, a small kitchen, and a bathroom, but it was perfect, especially for such a quick trip. So we said goodbye to everyone, and then it was really just Jared and I and Moose for the rest of the trip, which, you know, is kind of like nerve-wracking and exciting. It was nice to have Jared sat with us for the first half. We tried to convince him to come with us for the second because we were having such a good time, but who knows, maybe on the way back we'll be able to convince him. And when we woke up the next morning, we actually didn't totally know where we were going. We knew we wanted to go to New Mexico because that was kind of the next checkpoint, but originally when we had first planned our trip, we were going pretty far south, so we were going to drive to like White Sands, I believe it's called, or Carlsbad. But since we were going to go north sooner now, we had like a few options. We could stop in Santa Fe, Taos, Albuquerque, and honestly all of them sounded amazing, but we kind of wanted to make that day's drive a little bit shorter since we had really pushed to get to Tucson super quickly, and I think both of us were feeling like a shorter ride would be nice. We also wanted to give Moose a break too, because we realized that him sleeping for like 9 hours a day is not sustainable. Like by the time we would get to a location, he would need to run and really get lots of energy out. So we ended up choosing Albuquerque because it was the shorter drive, and we knew nothing about Albuquerque. We didn't look into anything about Albuquerque. We called a Comfort Inn, and they had a room for pets available, so we were like, okay, we're gonna stay there, it'll be fine, I'm sure it'll be great. I actually was like very nervous about not booking places ahead of time, but in retrospect, I actually think that was the best way to do it. Maybe it was because it was winter time and so there's a lot more available, and maybe we won't want to do that on the way back when we leave spring, early summer. But at least for this trip, it just made like flexibility so much easier, and we could just really see how we felt that day and then base our route off of that. So we either stayed at a motel or hotel, like a Comfort Inn, or we stayed at an Airbnb, and we would just book the morning of wherever we ended up. Again, I just feel like we were really taken aback by how massive the desert is and just how it feels like it goes and goes and goes and goes. But at the same time, like when you think of desert, you think of kind of one thing, and you quickly realize that there are so many different microclimates and like micro environments within the desert. And every time you kind of get to a new state line or even go like 50-60 miles, it feels kind of like you're in a different environment. So it was really special to get to see that. And as we got into New Mexico, the rock formations were just absolutely incredible and so beautiful. We kept going on our drive until we got to Albuquerque, where we checked into our Comfort Inn, which ended up being in a very weird location, but we had a great experience anyway. You get breakfast there, so that's wonderful. So once we got settled and unpacked the car, we looked up some dog parks to see if there's anything close by. I feel like that was a really good trick that we kept doing in every city that we could so that we could get some energy out for Moose. It's so funny. I mean, this is probably what parents do, but it's like you just put the needs of your pet or your kid ahead of yourself. So we were always like constantly looking for things to make his ride more comfortable instead of thinking about like what we needed in that moment. But it all ended up being fine because we found a really beautiful dog park that was close to our hotel that we could quickly drive to, and then he had a total blast playing with all the dogs there. And then we got a really special treat because we got kind of curious about the neighborhood that the dog park was in, and we were walking around, and I'm sure if you live in Albuquerque this is very well known, but we had no idea that there are just beautiful like nature preserves that are right on the outskirts of town that you can literally walk all around. So we found this like beautiful plot of land that had a really nice pathway through trees and two like little lakes, I guess they're called lakes or ponds, that had geese in them and were just absolutely beautiful. So it was really nice to get to be like out in nature and walking around and just have kind of like some quiet, peaceful moments, and also to be moving our legs after such a long day of driving. I think we were both eager for that, and I think it was just like a nice reset. I feel like we mostly use Yelp to find things when we're in cities that we don't know about. We'll look up like restaurants on there, we'll look up parks, and it actually is really important in our experience to look up parks before you go to them, just because especially with dog parks, like there's always reviews. And for example, like there was a dog park that was like 2 blocks away from our hotel that we were thinking about going to, so we looked it up on Yelp, and unfortunately because of COVID become like a big community full of tents, and the whole park had been taken over. And so a lot of the reviews said, you know, this is not a place that you want to bring your dog right now. And it was like a really sobering reminder about, you know, how the past few years have just been so hard on so many people, and to just see that I think was really discouraging and humbling, and a good reminder to be super grateful for everything that you have. Again, looking up parks, looking up restaurants on Yelp is a really good thing to do, and then especially if you have food allergies, it makes it very easy to find restaurants that can accommodate that. So you guys know I have celiac, so I'm gluten-free. Found a really great restaurant called Soul Bowl, which is kind of by the University of New Mexico off of Route 66. And that was a really fun neighborhood to walk around. It's really cute. There's so many nice shops, so many nice restaurants, and Soul Bowl was absolutely delicious. It was kind of like a Asian fusion bowl, and the man that was working there was so helpful with me going through like what was gluten-free naturally, what I could get, super sweet, and it was just absolutely delicious. So if you stop in Albuquerque, go to Soul Bowl. It's really good, and that whole area is so cute to walk around. We took that back to our hotel and just kind of like winded down for the night and ate our dinner, which like I said was very delicious. And then I had a gluten-free brownie for dessert that Jared's grandma sent on our trip with us. So I was a very happy camper that night, and we slept really well, but the morning came really quickly, and so we had to get up early. I think we had maybe gained another hour at that point. So we were getting in the habit of waking up really early and just kind of like throwing on clothes and getting on the road. But the nice part about staying at like a Comfort Inn or something like that is they have a breakfast breakfast area. So we had packed a cooler full of food. I was like an easy eater and didn't have dietary restrictions, we probably wouldn't do that, but it actually ended up being really nice to have the cooler of food. So I brought, gluten-free bagels, and at the breakfast place they had like a toaster that we could use. They had like little packets of honey, and we had packed yogurt so we could have honey and yogurt. It was just a really nice feature. So all in all, we were actually super happy with that stay, even though we were like a little skeptical at first because we were not a fan of the neighborhood that it was in. But I think Albuquerque might have been one of our favorite stops. We really enjoyed our time there, and we want to go back for the hot air balloon festival, which I have to look up when that is, but it just looks absolutely incredible. So like I said, after breakfast we really got up, got moving, hit the road, and the next stop that we had was Oklahoma City. So I've been talking for a long time, so let's do a little timeout, pause here. I hope you guys are enjoying this little story time. I will be back next week probably to share our trip from Oklahoma City all the way to Manhattan, which was quite an adventure. We ran into a very large storm by the time we got to Nashville, and as a family friend told us, bad weather navigated safely makes for good stories. And yeah, it was definitely one of those moments. If you are new to my channel, I hope that you consider subscribing. That always means so much and shows my channel a lot of support, so I really appreciate that. If you're not new, then thank you again for watching. I'm excited to share the second half of our trip next week. All right, guys, I will talk to you very soon. Bye.